good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And this is the Intersection, and I am your host, Sherna Alexander Benjamin, the place where I center conversations on personal growth, living intentionally, and women, peace, and security. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and find this podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The name of the podcast is The Intersection. So today we are graced by the awesome presence of Namadi Masika from Kenya. Namadi and I spent a few months together studying in Canada in a diploma program on development leadership. And she is a committed individual. She is a wonderful professional, and it was an awesome pleasure to invite her on to have a conversation on the work that she is doing in Kenya. Because across the globe, women and children continue to be disproportionately affected by economic, social, and political inequalities. And the presence of violence and the manifestation of violent expressions of conflict is hindering the advancement of women and children who are categorized as vulnerable populations across the world. And during this pandemic, women are being called upon to lead using innovative methods during COVID-19, which is ravaging many communities and lives across the globe. But what does leadership look like for grassroots leaders across the world? How has the presence of COVID-19 exacerbated pre-existing inequalities for women leaders? And what are some of the opportunities that we have all had to embrace? Ultimately, what does being a leader and a woman in a pandemic look like? These are some of the questions we will answer in our series titled, What Does It Mean to Be a Woman Surviving a Pandemic? And for our first episode, again, Namadi Masika, a professional with 14 years of experience in development leadership with a strong focus on advocacy for child rights programming and child protection throughout Kenya. She is a proven expert, subject matter expert in promoting accountable democracies with a special focus on public, I'll say that again, public participation for social change, child participation in democratic processes, and she has a strong commitment in promoting, teaching, and utilizing, including upholding human rights-based principles, values, and approaches, as well as participatory processes and tools. So welcome to the Intersection, Namadi, and please tell our audience about yourself and the work that you do in Kenya.
Wow, Sherna, you make me look so good. I was wondering, who's that? Who's that being described? Oh, yes. All right. My name, as she has said, is Namadi Masika. I am a mother and a woman, a wife, for that matter. Those are very, very important things to put in place before I go any further to say that I'm a leader. Because that is where leadership starts, as a wife and as a mother. It doesn't make me any less a leader if I am a mother or a wife. So that I have to make that very clear. I work for a child rights organization called Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children as a regional coordinator for the Coast region in Kenya. As throughout my career, as Sherna has so much explained, I have worked in the development sector with a more focus on children, child protection, child participation, community engagements, which I have been able to do for a long time, as you said, 14 years. So I stand, what I stand for is to ensure that I add value to everything that I do as a woman and as a leader. I want to add value to my children, value to my home. I want to add value to my community and to the people that I'm working with. I want to add value. There's no need for me to set out and say I am a leader, yet I'm taking away from the people. I am a leader by adding value. So daily, I make sure that what have I added value to? Well, how have I added value? Where have I added value? I take stock of that. And if I make a tick that there's something that I've added something, I've made somebody smile, that is adding value. So that is me, Sheena.
Thank you very much, Namadi. And I love the focus of adding value, especially as a leader, because too often leadership is centered around an individual and their own personal egotistical goals and so forth, rather than seeing leadership, as you so eloquently put it, as adding value to the people that you serve, and also birthing other leaders in that process, and not being afraid to birth other leaders, but to see other leaders and other people as pieces of the puzzle to move forward in this
Yes.
work. So Namadi, tell us, what motivated you to get involved in the specific work of child rights? Because we see so much violence being perpetrated against children across the globe. And being a child, sometimes no one is there to speak on your behalf, to stand in defense of you, and to also protect and help you to come out of your situation. What motivated you to get involved in this critical work for children, to give them a voice?
As a child or as a growing up child, one of the things that I've always wanted is to see harmony. I've always wanted people to be, not to fight, to be at peace with one another. And I would see how children around me, I'll see as I was growing up, my fellow children whom we were playing with, not getting, their parents would neglect them. And I would feel so bad about it. Then the other thing is that I was one of those children you'll call responsible children. And the way we used to live, parents would, if they hear Namadi is going somewhere, they would encourage their children to come. So I ended up starting to be responsible of other people or other children around me. And it really motivated me to want to work more with young people. The other thing is that I'm not an office person. I'm not a person who sits behind computers and stuff. I am a people person. I like to talk. I like to communicate. I have a compassionate kind of heart. And for me, anything, I would sit as a child, anything that will reflect a child being hurt, a child, I will cry. I'll be very, very passionate about it. And for me, as from the background that I come from, is that anything that you are passionate about, anything that makes you, your blood to churn when you see it or when you look at it, that something shows actually the direction where you're going towards as you're growing up as a child. So when I finished my primary, secondary, and went into the university, my focus was on children. I'll do volunteers as I'm waiting to go to university in children organizations. I say, you don't have to pay me, so long as I'm doing, whether it is research, whether it is issues of child protection, whether it is dissemination, those are things that I was really interested in doing. And right now, I start to understand as an adult the direction I took, because every day I touch a life, I touch a child, whether I'm lobbying at Parliament for the enaction of new policies, child-friendly policies and child-friendly budgeting, or whether I am at the children's court trying to push for a children matter with a lawyer, because I'm not a lawyer, or whether I am in the community listening to the stories that they're talking about issues to do with children, I feel fulfilled and I feel I've added value. That is my journey thus far.
Thank you so much, Namadi. I love that you showed the progression of your advocacy, and it was from childhood. It was that innate ability to care and to show empathy for the other. And thank you so much for this. You know, I believe it is important for us to speak a bit about the work that you have been actively engaged in over the years. From your experience, what was it like, or what is it like, sorry, to be a woman in Kenya during the time of this pandemic? What was it before, and what is it like now? In this time of the pandemic? And I ask this question because I believe the outside world need to get a glimpse of the situation in Kenya regarding the impact of COVID on the lives of children and women.
Wow. One thing I will say is that I recognize myself fully as a woman, and not placing myself in anybody's shoes or a man's shoes. You know, it's been said that act like a woman and think like a man, but that is not me. Why? Because I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to be a man, so I cannot think like a man. I have never been a man, right? So I, as a leader, I fully recognize the fact that I am a woman leader. I will act like a woman and think like a woman and execute what I have to execute like a woman without having to fight anybody, I will enter the male-dominated world, but as a woman, because I don't know how to think like a man. I have never been a man. That I go forth in recognition. Having said that, before COVID, leadership and the work I do was free. I mean, we could travel. You know, my work involves a lot of travel. We could have meetings everywhere. It was not easy, but the statement I've started with has really helped me not to fight my counterpart as men. It has helped me to bring a seat at the table and create space for myself like a woman. I will not come with fists like a man because I don't know how, but I use what I have, the strength, the sixth sense. There's always something we know better to be able to create space on the table for myself as a woman. And so more so as a leader, because I realized that people will follow authenticity in leadership. They will follow authenticity. But many times as women, we have taken photocopies. You have tried to act like the counterpart. And that way you become fake. But because I chose to be the woman and not to think like a man, I'm recognized, I have authenticity. I'm recognized as a woman in this sector. And I'm able to do my leadership as a woman. Having said that, it's not been easy. It was not easy even then, before COVID. Because of the kind of work I do, I spend less time with my children. I had to move around and do the work that I have to do. Now, come COVID-19, one of the things, let me say, that COVID has done for my leadership, first and foremost, I have gotten to know my children. And as a leader, even I'm a Christian, it says if you are a leader and your children are astray, then you need not be a leader. You need not be a leader if you're a leader and your children are astray. Your children are not walking, I mean, they're not in the right path as a leader. You find they are walking not in the right path, right? So if my children, I don't know their characters, I don't know how they are, I'm not that leader that I ought to be, especially as women, right? Because the society will look at our children and judge us. So COVID has enabled me to see the characters of my children. What kind of leadership do they have? How are they behaving? What are they doing? Just to see and to try and correct. So I have become a leader in my home. My children will come and tell Mama, bless me. Then my children will come and say this and this and that. They know where to get hugs because I've been working from home, right? So I have become a leader in my home by knowing my children. When it comes to now my outside work, it has been not easy. Like right now, I'm working from home. And if you listen carefully, you will hear some small human beings coming to knock on my door, needing attention. You know, they don't care whether I'm working or not, whether I'm in a meeting, an executive meeting or not. All they do, they want Mama. So they come to knock. This has made me to work extra hard, more hours, because I have to stop, attend to so and so, become the judge, become the jury, the policeman, the coach, the referee, all at the same time, because my children are small, right? So you find that I have to work double extra, unlike the man. Yeah, even if we are both in their house, they will not go to that man and say, Daddy, we want this. They will always come. Yeah, even the man will come and ask, Babe, where's this? You know, so you are working double. Then it goes to an extent that I'm having this meeting. I have to prepare meals for my children. I have to prepare them to go to do their practices and whatever it is. Then the other things that I have ended up having to work very, very late in the night to try and catch up with work, right? So it has really compounded the issues of working at home and made the times to shrink because you have to put so many things together in one moment. Now, in the work that I do during this COVID-19, there has been so much that has been happening out there. Yes, we go out there into the community and as much as we do all the protocols for COVID and go out and serve our constituents, because I cannot add value when I'm seated behind the computer without going out, because I'm a people's person. So there have been a lot of spike in violence, gender-based violence on women and children in this pandemic times. There's have been very high stress levels have gone up. There's a lot of reports that come in at our desks, at the children's desk, at the police women desk and gender desks, and you find a lot of women are going there because of issues of GBV, right? And you get children who have been defiled by their own parents, right? So I think the confinement, especially when we have lockdowns, those confinement have brought issues of gender-based violence to a very high level. And there's also the issues of neglect of the children, yeah? The breadwinners, most of them, their jobs got cut, maybe the salaries got cut, they were discontinued from their work, bringing stress levels up there. So there's a lot of deflection on the women and the children. There are also so many cases that are coming in of killings and destruction. You know, people. There's a lot of suicide going on. There's a lot of suicide going on, and people who are killing other people. The economic times are tough right now, and it's really hard situation. And sometimes you wonder, how am I going to help this particular person? You yourself, you need to be debriefed, but who will debrief you yourself, right? So there's that challenge, and you try to cry and help everybody as much as you can as a leader, but again, it's not possible. So one of the things that we've been doing as organizations working for children in Kenya is that we've been trying to work in networks, um, whereby as a child protection, I'm doing child protection, doing advocacy issues. I identify, maybe I get a call, there's a child that has been defiled. I'm unable to go there. We are able to connect with the children's department or connect with the police. If there's a child that needs to be rehabilitated, there's an organization, we work together, who we can be able to connect that child who needs to be rehabilitated. If there's a child who needs a school uniform to go to school, the child that needs shelter. So we have a network of organizations whom now we are able to meet. We meet on online spaces like the one we are having, and we have those discussions. We discuss the numbers. We discuss what interventions are being done. And we have government officers as well in this network. So we are able to report to each other. We also set up online sessions for children and young women so that they can be able to give out their able, we go to the community, of course, ensuring that protocols, COVID protocols are observed. We go to the communities and meet with them and get their views. Yeah, we try to get some of them out of that particular community to a national space, create spaces for them where they can be able to meet decision makers who will be able to help them. So there's so much that we have been able to do in brief. Yeah.
Peggy, okay, I've said it Peggy because Peggy
Yes,
is familiar.
it's okay. That's also my name.
Yes, that's how, for our months in studying, it was always Peggy.
Yes,
And
yes.
I know
That's
this is,
okay.
I know this is by the way, but I just want to plug this in here. When we were studying, Peggy was actively engaged with groups that put on a wonderful demonstration of connecting cultures and connecting individuals to break down racial barriers. And that was done through swimming for a cause, as swimming to break down these barriers, to build relationships. I had to plug that in there because that always stays with me, and the impact that had on us that, But Peggy, you mentioned so many things here, and so many things were brought out that you spoke about in this time of COVID, how you as a woman and also as a leader, how your work hours are now extended. But before I go to that, I love the fact that you said you gotten to know your children. That impacted me, because sometimes and I honor you for that in this moment. Sometimes as advocates and as a woman, we are so busy and get caught up in serving others that we forget to serve first ourselves and also our families. And it's not that we neglect our children, our families, but we're like, okay, yeah, they're okay. They're in this environment, they're safe, they're okay. These children here. And those small aspects of their lives and their inquisitiveness as children, those are things that sometimes we are not part of while they're growing. And I love that you mentioned that I have gotten to know my children better, and you work to shape and to mold and to give them the autonomy to make their own decisions and to grow, and that is beautiful. Then going back to the issue of women and working more hours. And that is something you spoke about, the late night working. We're seeing this spike in GBV and the issue connecting to children, you know, in Kenya and across the globe. So much so that the UN is calling the increase in GBV cases a shadow pandemic. But I say that this has always been a pandemic. You know, violence against women and children has always been a pandemic. Yeah, the presence of COVID is just exacerbating it with the added layers of stress that comes with COVID. One thing for our viewing audience, when you mention children are being defiled, because for me, I may understand what that means, but to someone who doesn't know, what does that look like, a child being defiled? What is that?
Okay. That is one of the saddest thing, the most heartbreaking thing that any adult of sane mind could ever see or experience on a child. A child being defiled, you see, women are raped. No, when during GBV, gender-based violence, rape is one of the things that happen to women. But children are defiled. When they are raped, it is defiled because you're defiling their whole system. So you find a child, an 80-year-old child, and we have clips with a 70-year-old man who is found on top of that child. He's found messing up that child. These cases are so many. You meet a child that has been messed up. They're actually open like this. They had to be sewn back. You meet, and even boys. You meet boys who have been so badly used. Somebody, what do you want a 2-year-old for? What do you want a 2-year-old child for? When you go to the recovery center, you look at children who are there, like, we have become animals. I mean, not even animals, because animals, there's no young lion. I mean, there's no adult lion that will go for a cub. Never. Even in birds, it doesn't happen. But us, we are creatures that are totally different. That is what I mean by defiling children. The cases are spiking up. The cases are spiking up. The other cases that are spiking up right now, especially in my country, are kidnappings of children. Kidnapping and abduction of children and finding those children dead for rituals. I mean, the kidnappers have become so daring that there's a case whereby the mother was closing the gate and somebody came and grabbed the child and ran away with it. Fortunately, there were people around who ran after and caught the man. And the man started saying that this child belongs to my cousin. Yet the child is crying for the mother. So this COVID has brought out, people are so money oriented. They're so focused on, they're so selfish, right? They're very, very selfish. So those atrocities that are happening on children, they're heartbreaking. Yes, they have been there, but they're coming out so much so right now. I mean, think about your own child. Somebody, because your child is so trusting. The other thing that is really affecting our children and young people right now is the media, the internet. The cases that we are receiving of young girls, 15 to around 24, the cases we are receiving of young girls who have met men on the internet, telling them come. There are so many. We find girls at the bus stop stranded. some of them have been used and dumped. They don't know. They thought this is a young man who's my boyfriend and what and what and what. There's so many of those cases right now happening. Online child sexual abuse. This is something that we're trying to work out as an organization. We've done a bit of research with the ECPAT International. We've done a bit of research on this in our country and other countries, just to see how are cases of OCSEA, online child sexual exploitation, being handled. How many are they? Believe me, there's so many. But the unfortunate part is not many of them end up in court, because where's the evidence? You see, where's the evidence? It was online, yes, so. But one thing I'm grateful right now for my country, we have set up a section at the Directorate of Criminal Investigation with a focus on child trafficking and child abuse. So that particular section is working very, very closely on especially following up on online child protection issues, and working very closely with Google and all the others to ensure that they get these guys connected. But still, there's so many cases that children are being indoctrinated with so many things, you know. So those are issues that are really coming out right now. And because right now our children are learning from home, they're learning through the internet, the foreign creatures that are out there are actually preying on them. They're preying on them, you know, and we can never be too careful. Yeah.
Peggy, my heart is breaking right now. And it's breaking because it sort of carried me back to my childhood and having experienced some severe childhood abuses. And no child should experience any type of abuse, none, because the trauma of that walks with you throughout life.
Oh, yes,
unless
yes.
you, and that's where the adverse childhood experiences comes from, the ACEs. And unless there is an early intervention that can work towards changing the trajectory of that child who has been violated, who has been defiled, then children are placed at a greater risk of so many things: health risk, mental health challenges, making uninformed decisions through life. They are also placed at the higher risk of not achieving a full education, you know,
Yes.
issues with job, issues with having healthy relationships. There's so much. And I applaud you for the work that you continue to do. And to anyone who may be viewing this and you are moved to connect with Peggy and her organization and the work that they do in Kenya, please, I will put her details in the description of the video, and do something, even if it's online support, to give some information about how they can develop strategies to combat the issue that is affecting children online at this present time. Peggy, I would like to go back to this idea of leadership, because many times when people hear leadership, they automatically relate it to the male, the man, and they see strength, they see decisiveness, they see a good leader. Even though this man makes a lot of blunders, they see a good leader. When we hear women and leadership, a lot of negative things come to mind. So, oh, she's weak, she may not be suited for the position, even though she is qualified, she has the experience. And one of the things I would like to do in this series is to allow people to redefine what leadership is, removing the sex from leadership and just seeing leadership and a leader and what that person brings to the table and to the conversation for social change and progress. with that being said, what have been some of your greatest challenges and some of your greatest success as a leader?
Wow. Challenges as a woman, there are very many. One is that one of the greatest challenge I've had is people undermining my authority and undermining my ability and capability to lead and to achieve. It irritates me. It irritates me, and it brings out the shark in me sometimes, in a woman way, you know, in a woman way, right? Right. You know, we can use our clothes, you know, right? So that aspect of showing me this respect, that aspect of looking at me as though before you see anything I can do, you're already judging me. Now, that is one of the things, one of the biggest challenge that I have faced. And yet, when given an opportunity, everybody in the room knows that that is supposed to be my position. Everybody in the room understands, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I have the knowledge. I've got the understanding. I'm able, well able to deliver. But you see, one thing I want our men to know personally, I don't want to take over anybody's position. I don't want your position. As men, I do not want your position. I want the position that I have gotten by merit. If it is your position and I have gotten it by merit, it is mine. But I don't want to come and take you out of the picture. What you do is ensure that you remain relevant, add value. Then I will not take you from your position. A position will be created for me, or I will create my own position to ensure that I am on that decision-making table. I'm sitting at that particular table. So that is something, a message that I'm sending out to men. Many of us women who are leaders, we don't need to take your positions. So long as you are adding value and you are there and doing that which is right, then we are good to go. In fact, I will happily work under you without a problem, right? The other challenge that I have faced as a leader is whereby many times I'm equated or positioned by virtue of the derogative statements that are said. They may not be said directly, but sometimes directly about you as a person. They try to defame you. They try to pull you down by words, try to dig into your past to see whether there's something they can use. And I have seen this not only for me, I have seen this even in the women leaders who are running for political offices. We work very closely with these women who are running for political offices. They would even Photoshop a woman naked to ensure that she is shamed. Yeah, she is shamed, and they will call her bad names. They will call her private parts and call her all manner of things, right? Just to ensure that she is brought down. So I have seen that a lot. And you see, let me tell you that if as strong leaders like us, the more you speak about those things, people will look at it 1, 2, 3 days. No, this is not that person, you know, and you will continue to go forth and they will look at you as a liar. At the end of the day, you are a liar. So those two have been big challenges for me, where my capability and my capacity and my authority is undermined, and where I am degraded and looked down upon and ensured shamed to make me not be able to move forward and achieve. Yeah, so those are the key challenges that I've faced. Some of my greatest achievements as a leader, one is the fact that I'm adding value. I will never stop saying that. The fact that I'm adding value to my community, that is one of my greatest achievements. That I can be called. Right now, people go on online, and when they go online, because people have put my name, my number there, under child protection, I get calls from strange people asking me, oh, we have an issue with children. Oh, we have this issue. We have this issue. I'm like, I don't know you, right? So I find that I have added value to somebody who told another person. I also feel that whenever I go to the community where I work in and meet the elders there and meet the chiefs and meet the women there and meet the children, I go to the schools and I see change. I see the children who have been mentored. That is an achievement, that I would say, because some of the children that I have mentored are now in great leadership positions. And that makes me feel nice, because a leader is supposed to leave a reflection of himself or herself behind. Yeah, you're supposed to leave a reflection of yourself behind. If I am a leader and I'm not mentoring anybody, I'm a leader and there's no person who can say, this person mentored me, this person did this, then I have not added value. I have not added value. And if I'm a leader, I am a leader, and I have nobody following me, because nobody follows fools. Nobody follows fools. Nobody is following me that I'm taking a walk in the park. I'm not leading anybody. I'm just taking a walk, right? So my biggest achievement has been adding value. The other achievements, of course, have been having gotten an award in Canada as the Catherine Fleming Award, yeah, for women leaders in child protection. Yeah, that's one big achievement right there. I have also been able to write my stories and COVID and issues to do with COVID in a blog. It's not a blog, it's a web or something. It's called Participedia. That is being run by Cody International. Some of the professors there have been able to do a lot of writing and expressing myself under that. So those are some of, I can say, my achievements, my greatest achievements, but most of them, personal, I would say, where I have added value, there I have achieved.
Wonderful, wonderful, Peggy. And I love when you mentioned if the men that are there are adding value and providing equitable and equal spaces and work to uphold the rights of individuals, then great. If you're not doing that, then you're not adding value. And then I need to create my own position, my own space to be able to add value, because I know I can add value to that. And I think as women, especially African women and women from African descent, there's this sometimes when we begin to tap into our leadership, there's this boldness, and not with arrogance, but I call it a humble boldness, because we know who we are and we know whose we are. So we walk into those spaces without feeling intimidated, and other people, even women, are intimidated by that. I really value that you mentioned that as women leaders, it's a bold step to go out front and lead. It's a bold step to be the face of a particular cause, and supporting and being the person to respectfully and honorably hold space for other people and women until they can use their own voices. And being a leader, it's not an easy decision. It comes with a lot of blows, as I call it,
Yes.
that we're able to take stripes on our back You talk about the defaming of our names. We have been through it, but we still stand. And I applaud you for that, because I also say to women, do not use your energies to defend your name. Let your work do the talking, and let your knees give you the victory. And
Come on now.
yes, and in time, the truth always emerges, even if it takes 100 years.
Yes.
You just continue working, and people would see the work. You know, Peggy, as we come to a close of this, this conversation could go on. We need a part 2 for this at some time in the future.
All right.
If you have to give advice to emerging women leaders, what would that advice be? 3 key advice. What would that 3 key advice be to emerging leaders?
1, do not try to be anybody else. Do not try anybody else. Be who you are. Draw your strength from within. Do not try to be anybody else or compete with anybody. You're the only one who can compete with yourself and draw your strength from within. That is very, very, very important. Because if you copy somebody, if that person falls, you'll fall 2 times. So that is very important as an emerging leader. The second thing, as young women emerging leaders, I'm going to say this, is that try as much as you can to be authentic. To be authentic in your leadership. Be authentic, be yourself. Be yourself and add value. However small, as a young woman leader, however small it is. The third thing I'm going to say is this: don't wait to be welcomed to the table. Take your seat and push and create space and sit at the table and tell them, hey, here I am, and these are my views. Whether you want to listen to them or not, I have spoken. Do not wait to be given space. Go and get it. Young leaders, go and get it. That is it.
Peggy, I love this. And, you know, my final question to you is, if you had the opportunity to speak to the head of state in your country, a social and financial influencer, and your future self, what would you say to each person?
One of the things that I know our president made is it a statement or a declaration on or a policy release on, was for there to be because of the child protection issues during this COVID-19, he said that there is need to be an audit done on issues to do with GBV. There's need for people, he even set aside a whole committee on this. So my question would be, has there been financial support towards the implementation of this committee? One, because we are not seeing the reports that are coming out, you know, they're put on the shelf, they're not being implemented. I would like implementation of the policies that are, not only this one, but the policies that have been put in place for children. We have very good laws, but they're sitting at the table. They're sitting on shelves. I will ask him to ensure there's budgetary allocation towards issues to do with children, child policies, child budgeting, sensitizations and trainings. Because if we are able to take care of the community, the children, then our future is assured. The other thing that I would like to ask him is why him and the parliament have not passed the 2/3 gender rule. We have a two-third gender rule that has been in parliament, going to the government, to the president, coming back to the parliament for the last 10 years. Our constitution shall be a two-third gender rule, yet it is not being manifested. So I will ask for that two-third gender rule to be passed. Yeah. Those are the key. Let me put on the lights. I'm becoming darker.
And Peggy, what would you say to your future self? When you see yourself in the future, what would you say to your future self?
That I'll say, Peggy Namadi, you are going places. You are sitting on the decision-making spaces. I'll say, Peggy Namadi, the sky is the beginning of your leadership journey. The sky is not the end. The sky is the beginning of your leadership journey. And that you shall exceedingly abundantly above. You shall get exceedingly abundantly above all that can ever ask. So that is where Peggy is going. And there is nothing that is going to stand in my way to achieve that. And my mind is set. My heart is set. And I have put the trajectory towards that. Therefore, this girl is going places. You wait and see. Ha!
Supporting you all the way. I love it. The sky is only the beginning. You know, I have always had a challenge with women saying to other women, the sky is the limit. You know, we need to break the ceiling. No, the sky is just the beginning.
The beginning.
Yes. Yes. You know, Peggy, if someone would like to get in contact with you to support your work, to support your organization, whether it's through resources or technical support, share, how can they do that?
Okay. As I said earlier, I work for Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children. It's a national NGO that works towards implementation of the UNCRC, as well as we monitor the implementation of policies and support governments to disseminate policies that concern children and youth. We are based in Kenya, as she has clearly said. Our website for the organization is www.KAACR, Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children's Rights, www.kaacr.com. Then you can go to our Facebook page, KAAC, Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children, or to our Twitter page, you'll find us at Kenya Children. You can be able to go there, and you can be able to provide that support. You can also get to my Facebook page, which is Namadi Saka. There you'll be able to find many other things that I do. I also have a Facebook group that we call Asset-Based Community Development Group, whereby we discuss issues to do with the community development and how we can be able to bring our assets together as a community. We don't have to look outside. We can be able to look within. Everything we need, it can be found within. The teacher is within. The police officer is within. The doctor is within. Being able to bring the communities together, enable them be able to gather their assets and bring development for that. So those are my contacts that you can be able to get me, right?
Thank you very much, Peggy, and thank you for being here with me for the start of this series, Surviving the Pandemic as Women. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, and I know our audience totally enjoyed hearing you, and we look forward to having you in the future. To our audience, thank you for joining us. Thank you for clicking on that like button, and thank you for engaging with us on Facebook. and, look forward to the recording of this podcast, which will be on Apple and Google. I am your host, Sherna Alexander Benjamin. Thank you for joining me again. You have been listening and viewing The Intersection, the place where I center conversations on everyday women, personal growth, living intentionally, and women, peace and security. Have a great day and be safe during these times. Again, Peggy, thank you, and I honor you, and I love you for the work that you're doing. May God continue to open doors and grant you favor and overflow of blessings as you
Amen.
progress.
Amen.
Thank you,
Sherna, for this opportunity to share to your audience, and I pray that I've added value to your life. That will show that I have leadership. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
God bless.
From Kenya, we say kwaheri. That is bye.
Bye.